When you step into a pub or brewery, the beverage menu can seem bewildering. There's beer, ale, lager, stout, IPA, porter. The options seem endless, but at the core of this entire beverage family sit two terms that frequently leave people confused: beer and ale. Are they identical? Or are they completely separate beverages? Is it simply a matter of regional terminology, marketing labels, or does something more fundamental distinguish them? We're going to clarify everything right here on Stories Behind Everything. First and foremost, beer serves as the overarching category. All ales, lagers, stouts, and pilsners exist within the beer classification. Consider beer as the family surname. Within that family, you have various branches, and one of the most ancient and significant of those branches is ale. So from a technical standpoint, when you request an ale, you're ordering a type of beer. However, when you order a beer, it won't necessarily be an ale. It could equally be a lager. That's where the distinction becomes clear. Beer fundamentally divides into two primary categories: ale and lager. Everything else, IPAs, stouts, pilsners, bocks, porters, represents subcategories within these two main styles. And the principal difference between ale and lager boils down to one element: yeast. The specific yeast strain employed and how it ferments alters everything from flavor characteristics and aromatic qualities to alcohol concentration and even storage longevity. So when we discuss beer versus ale, the conversation genuinely revolves around yeast selection, brewing heritage, and the sensory experience that results. Ale gets produced using a yeast strain called Saccharomyces cerevisiae, commonly known as top-fermenting yeast. This yeast prefers warmer temperatures, typically between 60 and 75 degrees Fahrenheit, and it ascends to the surface of the fermentation container while performing its work. Due to this behavior, fermentation occurs more rapidly, frequently completing in just a week or so. Lagers, conversely, are brewed with Saccharomyces pastorianus, a bottom-fermenting yeast. This yeast flourishes in cooler conditions, around 45 to 55 degrees Fahrenheit. Fermentation requires longer periods, sometimes extending several weeks to months. The colder, more gradual process produces lagers with that characteristic clean, sharp, refreshing quality. So if we simplify it, ales are warm, quick, and flavorful. Lagers are cold, slow, and refined. Now let's discuss taste, because this is where drinkers perceive the genuine difference. Ales frequently exhibit bold, fruity, and occasionally spicy characteristics. Because the yeast operates at warmer temperatures, it generates what brewers call esters, compounds that produce hints of fruits like apple, pear, banana, or even subtle clove notes. That's why ales can seem more intricate or multidimensional on the palate. Lagers, by comparison, tend towards smoothness and neutrality. The cooler fermentation inhibits those fruity esters, allowing the malt and hops to dominate without yeast-driven flavors interfering. That's why lagers are frequently described as clean or refreshing. Picture a classic golden pilsner on a sweltering day. It doesn't assault your taste buds. It simply satisfies your thirst. Ales also typically delivers slightly more potency because fermentation happens faster, and yeast functions more energetically at elevated temperatures. Ales often conclude with a marginally higher alcohol by volume, or ABV. They also present a fuller body, heavier on the tongue, richer, and sometimes creamier in texture. Lagers, meanwhile, generally possess a lighter body and somewhat lower ABV, though exceptions certainly exist. But broadly speaking, lagers are what you choose when you want something crisp, uncomplicated, and highly drinkable. Ales suit occasions when you want to savor bold flavors and a more substantial mouthfeel. Lagers, in contrast, represent a more contemporary innovation. They emerged in Central Europe, Specifically in Bavaria around the 15th and 16th centuries, brewers discovered that storing beer in cool underground caves for extended durations yielded a smoother, cleaner taste and enhanced its preservation. This lagering technique, named from the German word lagern, meaning to store, revolutionized the brewing industry permanently. By the 19th century, with refrigeration's arrival and new yeast discoveries, lagers surged in popularity. Today, most of the planet's best-selling beers, like Budweiser, Heineken, and Corona, are lagers. Ales maintain their position, particularly among craft brewers and aficionados, but lagers control global production volume. Interestingly, in recent decades, ales have experienced a significant resurgence thanks to the craft beer movement. Craft brewers favor ales because they enable experimentation with flavors and facilitate unique style creation. That's how we witnessed the explosion of IPAs, double IPAs, Belgian-style ales, wheat beers, and all those bold, unconventional seasonal brews appearing in neighborhood breweries. So while lagers might reign as the monarch of mass production, ales are the favorite of small-batch, flavor-focused brewing. They permit brewers to innovate, test boundaries, and advance creativity. What many people don't realize is that the ale versus lager distinction has profoundly influenced global drinking cultures and regional identities. The United Kingdom, Ireland, and Belgium developed rich ale traditions, creating distinctive styles like English bitters, Irish stouts, and Trappist ales that became cultural symbols. Meanwhile, Germany, the Czech Republic, and much of continental Europe built their beer heritage around lagers, perfecting pilsners, bocks, and märzens that defined their brewing excellence. This geographical split wasn't accidental. It was driven by climate. Warmer regions lacked the natural cool caves needed for lagering, so they perfected ale brewing instead. Colder regions could maintain the low temperatures essential for lager fermentation. Even today, you can trace a country's traditional brewing style largely by looking at its historical climate patterns, making beer not just a beverage, but a liquid record of geography and cultural adaptation. Here's where people become confused. Many individuals use the term beer to signify lager without recognizing it. For instance, when someone declares, "I just want a cold beer," they typically mean a light lager. But remember, ale qualifies as beer too. Another misconception suggests that ales are invariably heavy and potent, while lagers are always light and mild. That's not necessarily accurate. You can discover strong lagers like Doppelbocks with substantial alcohol content, and you can find session ales that break these stereotypical rules. So the next time you're at the bar and someone questions the difference, you'll know precisely how to clarify it. Beer is the family, ale is one branch, and lager is the other. One is expressive and robust. The other is crisp and clean. Neither is superior. It all depends on what you're craving. Thank you for watching. If you have ideas for our next video, please share them in the comments section below. We'll make sure to acknowledge your contribution. Thank you for joining us on this journey through stories behind everything. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.